I love those little guitar notes in there. I have something even better than that for you today. One of Chris's songs. I still don't know how to upload them or even download them from SoundCloud. I don't see an option, but I can play it for you. So I'm just going to share the screen and play it. This is called Murder Berkeley or Barkley. Here we go.
Get the fuck back before you're torn apart. Your pact with the devil ain't stronger than the holy arts. And don't be trying to bring that shit in here where we operate the knowledge that inspires your darkest fears. You sit there bragging, wearing some robe you made. What you gonna do? You first pagans can barely throw shade. Before I come to cunt you down in silence, here's a quick lesson in the spiritual science. You see, robe is to bath, as bath is to water. So if water is to wine, is how fucking drunk are you? Just a wannabe wizard looking for a fight, but your wand is just a stick that you found outside. You can't cast spells, you can't spell it, don't even start. You write up with O and V because you think it makes you look magic smart, but it don't. And I shouldn't even have to say this, but in case it wasn't necessarily just makes you look racist. This is a banner forever, but my head it greets all new arrivals to the land of the living dread. It bears my name, it's the Syracana class, distilling ancient mysteries and drink them from a flask. This is this banner forever, but my head it greets all new arrivals to the land of the living dread. It bears my name, it's the Syracana class, distilling ancient mysteries and drink them from a flask. We call it Lapis Elixir. 223.
I need to learn
I swear to
these
God,
words.
just to know you damn. A cult just up my roof. I'm gonna scream real loud. Call me Pee Wee Hermeticist. The word of the day is gonna roll off my tongue like a fist. And while I don't wanna hurt you, I don't accept any acts of slander. If you want to sling shit, that's fine. I'm slinging bullets with pomp and grandeur. The Buzzley Berkeley number
Dang,
with
that's a
murder
lot.
in the dancer's eyes. Kaleidoscopic, psychotropic choreography with knives. Don't you think you're a little old for this? Playing Ouija dress down this Ulster Potter pajama bullshit, because it's not about believing in yourself or believing really hard or pronouncing proper magic words or bonding with some cards. It's a relationship between man and the most primal of natures. It's the difference between believing in being sure before time began, before the veil went up. The pattern was made perfect and uncorrupt. The deep magic is like water that's flowing underground. Your head keeps talking and talking, but no sound ever comes out. It's not that you well run dry, it's that it was never wet. The looks of your girlfriend's the first time that you've heard that. This banner forever above my head, it greets all new arrivals to the land of the living dread. It bears my name, it's the Syracana class, distilling ancient mysteries, you can drink them from a flask. This is this banner forever above my head, it greets all new arrivals to the land of the living dread. It bears my name, it's the Syracana class, distilling ancient mysteries, you can drink them from a flask. This banner forever above my head, it greets all new arrivals to the land of the living dread. It bears my name, it's the Syracana class, distilling ancient mysteries, you can drink them from a flask. Since this banner forever above my head, it greets all new arrivals to the land of the living dread. It bears my name, it's the Syracana class, distilling ancient mysteries, you can drink them from a flask.
I love that. There you go. That was Chris. Murder Berkeley. Okay. I can stream for a few hours today. I have my men's group at 2 hours, 6:00 Central. If you want the link to that, just email me. Otherwise, I'm gonna sit up here and talk unless I get a guest. I think I have some Twitter stuff, maybe YouTube. Oh, I did finish the Tower of Babel. So a little bit of Bible stuff. It's kind of a like I talked the last time how the Bible sets up these echoes and parallels with the previous stories. So you had like the flood, was a echo of Eden, and now you have the Tower of Babel. So God seems to get really irritated and a little bit fearful when there's like this boundary between the human or Adam or his creations and himself, the divine. And when the human gets too close to that boundary or barrier, God starts to freak out. And then that's when he starts to wanting to interfere or destroy the creation. He kicked Adam out of the garden because he didn't want them to eat of the tree of life, because then he would become one of them, because it was the Elohim, the plural version of God. Then when those the Nephilim were mating with the daughters, the human women, he did the flood. He got threatened by that, because that's, if you're mating with divine beings, that brings you closer to the divine, your offspring. And now in the Tower of Babel, that's when the world came together, or the people, it's all metaphorical anyway, the existing people came together in the land of Shinar to build a tower to try to reach heaven. And God said, oh, no, we're not going to have that. That's getting too close to being like me, too close to that boundary. And he came in and he scattered them and confused their tongues, baffled their tongues, their language. And there's a lot of, there's Chris. There's a lot of Hebrew punning. So Babel, they named the place Babel. It's also an allusion to Babylon. And anyway, so God frustrated and thwarted their attempts once again to approach the divine out as the good guy so far in this story.
How's it going, man?
Hello. Oh,
Hey.
you're frozen, or am I frozen?
We were both frozen for a second. I know it's acting weird today. It's giving me some trouble switching over to my.
I'm getting my low internet message, so it's me. I played your song.
Yeah, I know. I happened to see that. I saw you went online just as I was sitting down the couch downstairs, and I saw. Isn't that we were turning on? Lindsay's like, you should go jump on, telling me you saw the song playing. So yeah, I came up. I was gonna do it anyway, but yeah, that's it. That's the other version, that song you played the other day. Yeah, that was the more rock version or something.
What about Cults?
Yeah, it's the same song. It's Murder Berkeley. I just did a different version of it because I didn't. At some point I was like, oh, I don't like that version of it anymore. I don't like the way I thought it was too sleepy sounding. So I made one that was like a lot more energetic. So
it seemed like it had more guitar.
Yeah, I mean it's fake, but yeah, I didn't actually use a real guitar on it. But I do. I mean, there's tracks on there on my SoundCloud that I have real guitar played that where I actually play the guitar on them, but not those.
I haven't figured out how to get them on StreamYard so that I can play them without pulling up SoundCloud.
I don't know. There's got to be a way to embed them or something. I don't know. I don't guess I have that end. Let's see. I see video file. I have no idea how to do anything on StreamYard, though. I've never looked at this program much. So
you can upload files, but I guess I have to download it. But I don't see an option to download in SoundCloud.
Oh, I can turn that. Through the website. I think I can turn them because I had that turned off because for a while I had like when I first started putting stuff up, like there was some bot that was going around like downloading everyone's stuff, and it was like something that there was like an alert about. So like they suggested the time that you'd like disable downloading. So I turned downloading off on all my tracks, and then I just never turned it back on. I used to have it where you could download any of the tracks if you wanted to, but I turned that off a long time. I can just turn it back on and let you download them. It's not really a big deal. I'm pretty sure I can even like let it like. I'm pretty sure I can make it where you I can download them. I can let just you download them too. It used to be anyway. I don't know because I haven't really used SoundCloud in a while. Like all of this stuff is 6 years ago. Like the newest track I have on here is 6 years old. So I don't have a lot of a lot of tracks on here that have. Let me see here if I can.
Because then I can open the show with a different track.
Yeah, sure.
I have to use the stream.
I will
today.
I will figure. I gotta see if I can find my login, and if I can find my login, then I will
Oh yeah, I have to find mine too. I'm not even logged in. I haven't used SoundCloud in years. I don't even remember what email I used. So
Yeah, and okay, my old login worked fine. I guess it didn't like. I feel like every time I haven't used the site in a while, it usually gives me trouble. But it didn't give me trouble this time. So I got in. I just got to figure out how I can turn back on downloading. I don't know how to do it right now, but I'll figure it out later. I'll give you the link whenever I get it figured out.
okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll just keep playing them off the website in the meantime.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
So what's going on? By the way, if anyone wants to come on, click the link.
Definitely. Yeah, just went. We got grocery shopping done today, and just got the baby up from a nap, and that's it. That's been the whole day so far.
Oh, well, cool.
She's sitting down there with her mama right now. I was about to check out this thing. I just because we got back in and she fell asleep in the car, and then we put her down. So you sent me a message, and I was going to about this thing about the about what's going on here.
Oh yeah, that's there's a guy named Jay Dyer. Who's this? He's an ortho bro. I get the ortho bros online have their own little version of orthodoxy that they're trying to defend, and it seems like it's kind of culty, and so they attack and go after people who question their version of orthodoxy, which doesn't always align with traditional orthodoxy. And so they do things like doxing and harassing and trolling. And a lot of the people, I don't know the background. This essay is as close as I could come to it. But some of the people harassing Machine and them seem to be from this little ortho cult. And this guy had the same experience with the tactics that they're encountering. So it seems like it's bigger than just a few. At first I thought it was just like in-group drama among friends, but it seems like it's a little bigger than that.
Any group, no matter what their aims or what their goals are, if they feel the need to attack others that criticize them, surely because they're criticized, I think they're standing on weak ground then. They can't.
It seems like they're trying to set themselves up kind of like the woke to be this really rigid orthodoxy, and then if you don't follow it, you get canceled and harassed and bullied. It's like the right wing. It's the closest right wing version of the dynamic that I see from wokeness on the left.
I used to see that. I mean, that kind of dynamic used to exist on the right all the time back in the day. I mean, like that kind of there was all sorts of stuff back in the day. Like they do organized boycotts and stuff like that. Anything that questioned any kind of like mainstream Christian viewpoint, for the longest time, like at least the 80s, it started like falling apart in the 90s. But let's see here. I was like looking here, like it looks like it's like a lot of it. I see something about saying that it's like primarily like gatherings and Discord and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all Discord drama because they have it's a virtual online presence, and now in this age, a lot of people coming to Orthodox come through it online, through the internet, and through these YouTubers. They're not coming through it through the actual church, so they have the ability to like influence the new generation of orthos through Discord, through the YouTube streaming network. And I don't know where Andrew fits in all this. I don't know if he's part of that network or what. So it's definitely worth a read when you have some time to sit down and read it carefully.
Yeah, I will. I do. I realize because I know kind of the broad strokes of like what the Orthodox Church is, but I'm like reading a lot of stuff here, just kind of scanning it, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff that I'm not familiar with at all about what the modern Orthodox Church is.
Because even in Orthodoxy, there's different schisms and factions and stuff like any other church. It's not a unity either. You even have the Russian and Greek Orthodox.
Yeah, my impression of the Orthodox Church is that they weren't really all that widespread anymore. At least like when I was growing up, I certainly didn't see many Orthodox Christian churches growing up. I mean, I don't remember there being. I think there was like one in like some of the towns I grew up in, but compared to like the even in a tiny little town, there could be 12 Baptist churches, right? But I think you might see one Presbyterian, one Orthodox church. That there usually weren't that many. Like because I grew up in a lot of small towns in Texas, so I don't. I wasn't even aware that they. So I guess if they're kind of small like that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like there's lots of.
Well, if anyone wants to come on and talk about Orthodoxy, too.
Yeah, definitely do. I mean, I don't know much about them. I don't know. Is Orthodox is ritualistic? Is it less ritualistic than Catholics or more so? It kind of almost giving the impression it's more so.
I don't know. I think they're supposedly the original church, but all like most churches think that they're the authentic version of Christianity.
Well, I mean,
why would the followers be following it? But I think they have historical claim to being the original, like the successor of the original apostolic church. I have a friend on Twitter that's Orthodox, and that's where I learned most of it from.
I was looking for like a real quick, easy kind of like just like a basic like description, like something like one sentence. It doesn't seem like I'm going to find that. I thought like certainly there's like a Wikipedia or something like that, and see like there is for like Eastern Orthodox Church. Just trying to find some Orthodox Christianity, like what's the primary difference between Orthodox Christianity and let's say Catholicism or something. It's like I remember Andrew was saying that really like he kept repeating on that Vosh thing. He was saying that the Orthodox Church doesn't agree with the Catholics, but the Catholics agree with them.
And it's called the Orthodox Catholic Church. It's the second largest Christian church. 220 million baptized members. I do know. I think they don't have a pope, and they work like each local. Well, in Catholic, it would be parishes or whatever. Is it so? They're independent and autonomous. So they have a hierarchy, but they don't have any one person at the top of the hierarchy.
Well, I mean, I do think that is probably better than what the whole Pope situation. But anyway, I'll look at this later. This is the kind of it's like in all like all the. I mean, I've done so much research into so many different religious sects and stuff like that. That's not what I really looked into because I didn't really think much. It seemed like an insignificant part of modern Christian faiths, and I know I looked a lot more into like pagan and older, like more like just like we're not necessarily pagan, but like just other non-Christian faiths. I researched a lot more of those than I ever did. I did most like Christian denominational type things. I mean, I know a lot about the Catholics. I know a lot about like Judaism and stuff like that, but I don't really know much.
It's drawing a lot of young men now, like in this age, the internet age, whatever, because of these YouTube figures that are speaking to people. Something's resonating, and it's drawing a lot of people now currently. Like half the people I meet online that I interact with end up being Orthodox.
Which is that's really unusual. I mean, in itself. I mean, I don't really get what the. I mean, what is like maybe like what do I just do that?
I guess if you're traditional, first of all, it's patriarchal, and so if you're traditional, if you're a male, you're a traditionalist, maybe a conservative. Either the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church is what would appeal to you most.
So the Catholic Church, the main difference, the Catholic Church believes the Pope to be infallible in matters of doctrine, and the Orthodox believers reject the infallibility of the Pope and consider their own patriarchs too as human and therefore subject to error. In this way, they're similar to Protestants who also. So that's the main thing, is they don't recognize the Pope. Okay.
It's that male need for hierarchy or some kind of male hierarchy.
I mean, there certainly is Orthodox. I mean, there's a hierarchy. There's hierarchy within the church, but they don't believe in the. They don't believe in like the hierarchy going all the way up to like the Vatican, yeah. So like that. They don't recognize the Vatican. So I mean, that's the main difference. That's interesting, I guess. But yeah, they consider the Jesus Christ to be the head of the church. So I mean, I certainly think that's a more reasonable viewpoint than believing the Pope is the way to God. But I mean, it's still anything, any of those Orthodox type things, anything that are real heavily ritual, and I don't know. I find them to be.
Maybe that's what appeals to them about people.
I mean, that's what appeals to them. Yeah, that's the reason what appeals to a lot of people about the Catholic Church. I know. I mean, I know a lot of Catholic people that have gone to Catholicism because of like they like the structure. you know, like the structure of the rituals and like the thing like that. I think people feel like it gives their life like a feeling of meaning and structure. You know, like it feels like a way to like kind of organize your life along those lines. You know. So I mean, I understand that it like rituals do simplify things. Ritualistic type stuff simplifies. So if you're trying to simplify your spirituality, you're trying to find something about your spirituality that makes sense, that you can wrap your brain around. You know, it makes, and like, you know, if you're having trouble, like, you know, because like kind of more, I guess, quote unquote Protestant type, or even the kind of like Gnostic stuff that I tend to gravitate towards, it kind of requires, it's kind of like a wide open field. It doesn't have a lot of boundaries on it, so it can be kind of overwhelming. You know, it doesn't have it like having a, when you're talking about something as big as spirituality, as big as like the idea of faith, which is a rather massive idea to try to hold in your mind in the first place. Just like the idea of God in general is a rather massive idea. You know, it's like, it's literally too big for a human brain to fully comprehend, because we're talking about the idea of eternity. It's just like, you know, trying to conceptualize infinity. And so when you have like a group like Catholicism or something like that, putting those the rituals and everything become like these safeguards, become like a fence. So you don't have to conceptualize all of eternity. You only have to conceptualize eternity within these boundaries, which I personally find to be kind of antithetical to the ideas espoused by Christ or such in Christianity, but that's what a lot of people appeal to it. I'm not saying I think any less of those people. Like I said, there's a lot of really good people that I've met that are Catholics. There's a lot of good people that are Orthodox and other things like that too. I don't think anything wrong with it per se, but if you get into it at the point where you have to start attacking other people to, you know, that just because they said something that was against or questioned your faith, you have to feel like you need to go up personally attack them, because then you're in a cult at that point. You're in a cult. That's all it is. That's what cults do. So.
Yeah, and there's like human beings. There's a ritualistic element to us anyway.
Sure.
Not only individually, but our interaction, our intersubjectivity, even our communication is ritualized in ways that we don't even notice. And I'm running into this in the men's movement too. They have all these, they come processes, but they have all these, everything's process. They interact through processes. They have these elaborate, like when they have their meetings, they have these elaborate ways of structuring and organizing the meeting. It reminds me of the church, the Catholic Church I grew up with. And I'm not looking for a bunch of process and ritual. I'm looking to kind of spontaneously connect, like on my own terms or organically. But a lot of people that turn to this, they get a lot out of these process. It organizes their psychology.
Yeah.
It organizes their interactions with each other. But I'm not seeing that it gives much in the way of interacting outside of that. Like, it doesn't give tools for interacting on your own without depending on some kind of process.
No, I mean, I see
or
the
doing
appeal
any
of it.
kind of inner work without depending on some kind of process.
Yeah, definitely. I see the appeal of it. I even see value in it per se. I don't necessarily agree with it as being, at least not your main mode, or like, I mean, I think there's no escaping some degree of ritualism in your life. There's no escaping that to some degree. You can't live, whether you like you said,
I'm
like,
not very ritual. I don't.
I'm not either,
Very low
but
ritual.
I mean,
so maybe
but,
some of it is like individual temperament.
Maybe it is. I mean, like, I can't say, like, you know, I sort of say, like, you know, a lot of people, like, they have like a routine. Just a routine can be a ritual. You know, any kind of routine you have, like, like, you know, getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth. Yeah, and I'm not good at routines. It's not even that I hate them. It's that I'm not good at them. I'm not good at keeping up with routines. It's the reason why I can't like, I'll decide at some point, and I'll do it again soon. I guarantee you, because I haven't planning at the moment, but I guarantee you at some point in the next couple of weeks, I'll be like, I need to shave. I'll shave up my face and shave my head again, and I'll try to keep up with that for, like, you know, a few days, and then I'll stop. I do it all the time. Even that, it's like the lack of routine for me is more of a ritual. It's more of a routine than the. I try to get into a pattern. I try to, like, lock myself into a pattern of doing these things that are good for you, and even like, I'm not even good at, like, taking medication at the same time every day. But when I had, you know, prescription medication, I was always really bad about I never seemed to be able to take them at the same time, which is what you're supposed to do. You know, like, I'd have to, like, even setting alarms, stuff like that. Somehow something would get in the way and I wouldn't end up doing it. It happens all the time. You know, like, like the closest thing I could ever get to, like, a routine or something like that was just, like, going to work. You know, because you have to, because it's not my schedule. So if I'm on somebody else's schedule that's set for me, then, you know, then I don't want to lose the job, so I'll be there. But like if it's something that I have to set for myself, I mean, maybe I'm just not very maybe I'm just not very disciplined. I don't know, but I can be really
I wonder if
disciplined about
that's an
things I want
ADHD
to be.
thing.
Yeah,
Like
it's
if
probably
some forms of neurodivergent are less amenable to ritual and routine, then because we have kind of our own internal way of doing things and our own internal patterns.
Yeah, it does the same way. Like for a lot of ADHD people like myself, like something being kind of like your desk being messy, it's kind of its own organization. Like I know where everything is, but like nobody else can find anything, kind of thing. Like that's really typical ADHD behavior. They say. I didn't, I knew I was ADHD for most of my life, but I didn't really know much about ADHD itself
Were you
until like
diagnosed in school? Like,
I was
did
diagnosed
it show up in
around.
school? Like,
I mean, it did, but no, it was never diagnosed. I was never diagnosed with it until after I was out of high school. But I graduated from high school when I was 16. So, and then I went to I went to a doctor. I got in a car accident, and like that, which necessitated me. I didn't really go to the doctor much before that, but I had in this car accident, and I had to. I had like I had to go for like weekly like medical. Like I had to go like back stuff. For my back. Like they did those like the electrotherapy and like the chiropractor stuff. They had to do that like once or twice a week. I can't remember how often, but like then there was also other medical stuff on top of that. That was the first time I ever went to a psychologist, and like the psychologist like diagnosed me with ADHD, and yeah, and that was the first time I'd ever been diagnosed with that. And I didn't really think much of it. They didn't even. He offered to put me on Adderall. I think he tried me on Prozac back then or something like that. I think it was Prozac, but it didn't really do anything for me. I don't think Adderall was even. I'm not sure Adderall was even around. If it was around, it wasn't widely
for
prescribed at the
ADHD?
time. Yeah, it's like 25, 30 years ago. So I mean,
The Prozac was for ADHD?
I think it was Prozac. Maybe it wasn't Prozac. Maybe it was something else. I can't remember exactly. Ritalin. That's what it was. Not Prozac. Ritalin. They tried me on Prozac for as an antidepressant at one point. Yeah, no, as Ritalin. I think they tried me on Ritalin, and Ritalin just did nothing for me. It didn't help me at all. But I didn't see the psychologist for that long at that point because I ended up moving shortly thereafter for another job, and as a whole, it's a long story, but it's not worth going into either. It's not very interesting. But any case, but it wasn't until like it was many years later, and I started really seeing like these like distractible elements of myself that were really interfering with my life, and I went back to the doctor and got re-diagnosed, and like they were, which the psychiatrist or psychologist, whatever you call it, whichever one prescribes medicine, it's the opposite of that one. So whichever kind of psychiatrist.
Although now there's different people, other people can prescribe to.
Well, she diagnosed me and then sent me to a doctor that prescribed it to me for it. So, and it really did help. I mean, like once I got regular with the Adderall, like my focus and everything, I just wasn't nearly as. It even helped my anxiety somewhat. But yeah, I mean, like when maybe I'm gonna try to get back on it whenever I go to the doctor here at the end of the middle of next month. So I'm trying to get back involved, see if I can't like get my brain working a little more in a more focused manner, so I can actually try to get some things done, or maybe it's so hard to stay focused these days for me at all. I get really distracted. Anyway,
have you ever tried smart drugs?
Oh, like nootropic stuff.
Yeah, the nootropics.
Nootropics. Is that what I don't know. I thought it was new. I think there was one I did try.
I call it nootropics, but we can.
Nootropics. Either way, it doesn't matter. I tried a couple of them. I tried a couple of them. I don't know. I couldn't really tell they ever had any effect. It seemed like placebos to me, but I mean, maybe they work for some people.
I did ginkgo biloba.
Yeah, I've tried that before, and there was one that was called I can't remember the name of it. It was kind of like a brand name type thing, but it was like a combination of a few other nootropic things that was in a pill. You get it at GNC back in the day. I don't know, but like 5 years ago. I don't know if it's still around. I can't remember what it's called, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, but like me and my wife we took it like pretty steadily for like 6 months or so, just seeing if it would have an effect. And it never really
my
helped,
stream keeps lagging.
Because you said like you have an internet, like there's like too many people on the internet or something right now, or
well, there's somebody that wants to. I don't know. It's local because it does this at least once or twice a day. It'll lag. There's no lag on this end. Oh, well, StreamYard is very good then because it's definitely lagging on mine. Hey, John. Oh, good.
Hey,
As long
John.
as there's no, as long as the viewers are having a smooth experience.
Yeah, there's no lag on. I can't see the lag on over here either. Hey, John, you want to come on?
What's going on? What's going on with the gender fucks?
Or gender flux or whatever they're calling it now.
Yeah, or anything really.
Maybe the gender clucks. You could be. You dress up in chicken suits for the image.
There's someone that wants to talk about Gnosticism, or wants us to talk about Gnosticism.
We can talk about that some. I can't. I'm working on a couple of things right now. It's just past with. Okay. Oh, good to see you guys. It's good to see you too, man. Gender clucks. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's a. Yeah, the Gender Clucks clan. That's maybe
Gender cucks.
The Gender Cucks. Yeah,
That's what they are, though. I mean, that's what they act like.
Just CUX, though, right? Just Gender Cucks. Just Gender Cucks. That way, you know, it fits the format.
They're trying to like be friendly to the YouTube censors and algorithm. But then he made the thumbnail with the crosshairs after I said, don't do that. So, I mean, he's obviously willing to play at the edge. So, yeah, I say go with Gender Clucks.
Like I said, you can all dress up. You do a Photoshop thing with chicken suits and all of you. You just take the old thumbnail and just Photoshop
white
chicken suits. Yeah.
With white coxcombs.
I'm afraid that's somehow not going to be interpreted properly.
He's trying to grow his channel. And there's like, what was it? Bad press is good press.
No, it's just
if nothing else is working, try something controversial.
It's not white supremacy. It's white meat supremacy. God. I can't believe there's people out there that actually think white people are any better than anybody else. White people are just as stupid as any other color skin.
No, they are. I think some of it is the changing demographics, maybe threatening to some people. But other than that, I think that's a minority. Most people have no problem living in a society with people of different shades.
Yeah. I mean, I've all my life I've grown up pretty much in the poverty, at the poverty level. So I've mostly lived in neighborhoods that were more diverse than I guess a lot of people. I've lived in a lot of like, you know, white suburban neighborhoods. I've lived in mostly like, you know, inner city type neighborhoods. So I mean, I've always had friends and neighbors that spoke different languages or different or had for different color skin than me, and I never really thought about. I just never thought of them as even being a little bit different, to be honest. So
no, I didn't know they were a separate people. So because I grew up black, we had black babysitters that would take care of us during the day while mom was at work, and we'd go to their house. They had kids, so we'd play with their kids. They were like, we were all one group. And I didn't know that we were separate people until we moved to another town when I was a teenager. And then I noticed that the black and white people didn't mingle. But the original little town I grew up in, it was very integrated. And I did not know that the rest of the world even saw black and white people as two separate people until later in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't say I ever really experienced much. I never saw much actual racism until I didn't live in the small towns of the South. I see it much more in bigger cities than I do. Much more, the more liberal and you know, Democrat the city, I think I see a lot more racism in those places. And certainly
because those are people that didn't grow up around black people. They have no contact. Just like the left they have this very distorted view of actual people on the right because they don't ever interact with them. It's the same with black people.
Yeah, it's all living in a bubble.
An imaginary view of the people that they don't actually have real world contact with gets like that's all you have to go off of is your imagination.
It seems to me, I mean, I could be wrong about this, but it seems to me a lot of the black supremacist types they also come from richer neighborhoods. They often are like they're pretty much just like black versions of the white liberals that do the same thing. You know, like they seem the ones that are like, you know, always like, you know, the ones that do the black power kind of like thing these days tend to be like from rather wealthy families and stuff like that. It's because like I think they grew up in like, you know, in kind of like a sheltered environment where they have this idea of like poor white people as being like this, like, you know, this racist animating force that's trying to take away black people's rights, or if they believe it at all, if it's not just performative. But I mean, you know, I never felt much racism towards me as being the only white guy in a group of, you know, Mexican and black people. Like many times in my life, I've never really felt racism towards me either. So I mean, I've only seen that once again living in cities where, like, you know, you start seeing it. I felt more discrimination from other white people.
Yeah, me too. I didn't experience anything remotely.
It freeze up on you again? Looks like it froze for a second.
There's a lag. It's throwing me off because I might have to reset my router, but I don't want to end the stream. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. No, you don't seem distorted. You don't seem like every now and then it looks like it freezes for like half a second, then it's back fine again.
You keep cutting in and out, and we're talking over each other because timing. I'm hearing your speech later than you're actually talking, so it's. And
John says he can hear us both fine.
It's just making it hard for me to interact.
Well, I mean, it's really okay if you have to. I mean, will it end the stream for sure? I mean, like, because like Paul's internet dies all the time on him, and he resets his computer.
That's true. I'm trying not to be like Paul. I keep telling him to get a better.
I mean, but still, if it'll help the connection right now. Yeah. I don't know. I you know, that's one thing. Like the fiber optic internet we have around here is still pretty good. I don't understand where Paul gets his internet from, because like I use like this company called Frontier that's local, and like my internet's pretty solid all the time. I don't even have like I have like a high end package with them, and like it's still never had an issue with it. So when it was Time Warner, I did.
So you just froze again.
Okay, it's never froze. When you said that, like you froze for like half a second, but like it didn't. I still heard you fine, just like the image did for a second. But yeah, just go ahead and do the reset, man. Couldn't be the worst thing in the world. I'll just ramble up myself for a minute while you do it if you want.
I think it's gonna end the stream though.
Okay, well, how does it happen? Like when Paul loses his internet and comes back? I mean, does that reset his stream? When that ended stream too, if you had a reset computer?
I don't know. Like if you're in the studio, it would still keep it going.
I don't know. I mean, I've never streamed before on my own, so I've only come on streams like this before. I've never actually streamed for myself before, so
I don't want to risk it because then I'll have to restart it on a different stream. Me and Anton. So when Paul goes out, you're just guest, just like Chris is now, and it keeps you on talking. I don't know if that's what I don't know. Because I know one time Machine was on, and one of his guests had like producer credits, and he left the studio, and it ended the whole stream. Well, why don't I? You know what I can do is I can close my tab and see if it keeps you on.
Yeah, try it.
So I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
All right. Be entertaining.
I'll try. All right. Well, hopefully this will work, and it didn't end the stream, I don't think. So I'm still here. So hopefully he'll be able to reset everything and get all straightened out.
Oh, it looks like it worked. So it kept you going, right?
Yep. I was here the whole time. No fault.
The Chris takeover begins. Yeah, it does actually. It begins right now because I think I am going to reset the router.
Okay.
So Chris,
okay. Yeah, just go ahead, man.
over.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, some there's a viewer that wanted to hear about Gnosticism, so maybe you can talk about that for a little bit.
I'll try. I don't know who was it. Who wanted to hear it? Was it John or was somebody else? Is there somebody else in the chat? Or somebody else watching?
Somebody else. Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody else.
All right. Well, I don't know what to say about Gnosticism right now, but any case, I feel like I've been taking over Jeff's stream for a while now, though. I literally I looked back through his last few streams. He's listed me as like being the guest in like the last like I think 6 or 7 streams he's done. So we did the Barbie thing the other day. And that was interesting. Like I had like there's a lot more interesting different responses than I expected. Oh, hi Patty, how's it going? Yep, Jeff will be back in a minute if you came to see both of us or just him or whatever. And I just say he went to reset his computer. So anyway, I don't know how to. I don't know what I'm supposed to do on a stream by myself. I've only ever been a guest in other people's streams, so I'm just kind of gonna be boring, I guess. I don't know. To talk about Gnosticism, I don't know what to say about Gnosticism right now. It's not inherently evil like someone like James Lindsay seems to believe it is. I'll say that much. I do think that it can be used for evil, just like anything can, though. I don't think there is a. Yeah, we didn't stream Barbie. We did a Discord like watch party for it. But we did a stream where we did the stream afterwards when we talked about the movie. I think what next movie we're going to be watching is there's a movie that Jeff really wants to watch on stream, or not on stream, but wants to watch. That's some Spike Lee movie from the 90s, I think, 90s or 80s, called Girl 6. I remember seeing it a long time ago. I haven't seen it in ages. It's about a phone sex worker. I don't remember much about it, to be honest. It's a Spike Lee movie, so I'm sure it'll be uneven as hell, like all of his movies are. But it probably is a good movie. I don't know. I don't have any real memory of it anymore. I remember seeing it on cable, like whenever I was like 18, 19, maybe. And then next Friday, we're going to be watching this movie called Landscape with Invisible Hand, which is a really interesting looking movie. It has something to do with like it's some sort of like kind of satire about streaming. It is the concept of the movie is these aliens come to Earth and they make their presence known and everything, but they literally they basically tell people that they're willing to pay people to stream their entire lives so they can watch them. And it's basically just what YouTube is, I guess. It's just YouTube, but with aliens being the ones paying. I don't know what nuances or differences that aliens having to do with that will make it. But it's from a director that also made another movie I like called Thoroughbreds, that came out, I don't know, 5 years ago probably. It was that which is kind of like, I guess it's mostly notorious for being the last film that Anton Yelchin. I think it's Anton Yelchin. He's the guy that played Chekhov in the new Star Trek movies, the Star Trek reboot movies. It was the last movie he did before he died. He died in like some really weird, bizarre accident where he got pinned between the gate at his house. He had one of those Hollywood mansion style like giant gates, and his car, I guess he got out to do something with it, and the car wasn't in park or something, and the car killed him, like ran him in between the. It seems I don't understand that kind of thing happens myself. I sound a little suspicious for me, but who knows? It doesn't seem like anybody was too concerned about it back then. But yeah, I think that's like the thing that movie was most notorious for was that it was the last movie that guy did. It was kind of a interesting-ish movie about these two girls, and one of them's kind of like a psychopath, and the other one is basically uses the psychopath girl to kill her stepdad or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was an interesting movie. And that's the only ones we talked about. There's a few other movies we were talking about doing, watch and discussion things with, like I don't know which one we'll do after that though. So I mean, it's I don't actually, I can't really. I see that you. It's what I hate about like emojis is that when someone posts one like that, I can't even tell what it is. It just looks like, is it just a picture of a girl? Is there something? Is she like shrugging or something? I can't tell what that. I can't tell what that emoji is supposed to like represent. So I'm sorry if, if there's anything else to get from that. That's my. I'm not a big emoji user though. I guess I'm just too old for emojis. I don't know. It's something about me revolts at the idea of using emojis. It's a face palm. Okay. Yeah, I can't say that at all. I don't know. It took me really. I usually adapt to new forms of communication and technology really easily. I'm something I've because I think because I was born at the age whenever personal computers were just becoming a thing, and so I adapted to PCs and the internet and all the stuff and upgrading technology and stuff like that really easily. But there we are. Hey Jeff, how's it going now?
So it worked? Yeah, I guess it did. Have you streamed Barbie already? Yeah, we did. It was good. I'd be willing to do it again. In fact, there's the episodes on my channel. We did the after show discussion, so you can watch that.
Yeah, I was just talking about what movies we were doing next and stuff.
I have to move the movie tomorrow to Wednesday. I've already checked with Emerald. She said it's okay, but
it's fine.
So like 5:30 your time on Wednesday.
No worries.
So, how'd it go? What's going on with Gnosticism? I'm older than you.
I was talking about the fact that I'm too old to use emojis. So I think she's saying she's older than me. Yeah, you might be. I mean, a lot of people have taken to the emoji thing a lot better than I have. I just don't like them. I just don't like emojis. I don't know. I feel like it feels like backwards. It feels like I'm moving backwards in terms of communication. I feel like we started with hieroglyphs, thousands of years ago with Egypt. Like we had this hieroglyphic type of communication and writing, and we evolved and grew into using like grammatical language. And I just don't see how using pictures to represent things, which can be interpreted so many different ways, I just don't see how they're useful. I mean, in some cases, like like using the waving thing, it's just like an accent's fine. But like I find when people, I'm not saying you're doing that either, but I'm saying when people communicate with emojis, it drives me crazy. That's all.
I use them on Twitter a lot more than anything. Every now and then I use them to like accent a post and.
Yeah, I mean, accenting a post is fine.
Like when I do my mental health post, I put the male sign. If I do like a political post or a patriotic post, I'll put the flag. So I put the thumbs. I use the thumbs a lot. Or if it's a joke, I put the laughing sign. I found something funny. So I'm learning to sprinkle them in.
Yeah, I mean, like they can be useful for accent kind of things, kind of in the same way like you can use like it can be useful to maybe to like kind of denote when you're being sarcastic, maybe, or something, if there's such a thing for emoji for that or something. There's certain things that don't translate that well in text, and I get that. It's really just whenever they get used as a primary mode of communication. I don't know. I'm just not good enough at interpreting them. It's really a failing on my part because there used to be this some TV show that had like I can't remember who it was that posted or anything, but they had this segment on it where they would like post this like sentence that was composed entirely of emojis, and they had to they'd have people like try to interpret it, and like I never could get one of those. I never could understand a single thing they were like saying in those things. It'd be this long string of emojis.
Erebus?
A rebus? I don't know.
Picture puzzles. Let's see.
It's kind of like a picture. Yeah, kind of like a picture puzzle, but with emojis.
Okay,
yeah,
I found a YouTube video. I hope I don't get a copyright for it, but we can try one.
Okay.
Brain puzzles. Clock time flies when you're having
time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, that one's easy.
Yeah.
But still, that's because I'm playing a word game, and I know I'm supposed to interpret it like that. I'm thinking that way. But if I wasn't playing a word game, if someone just sent that to me, I would just be like, what the fuck? Just say what you mean.
Don't get sick. The head hurt. Not strong. Not
weak mind, weak
healthy.
body.
I bet that's it. Did they tell you the answer?
I hope so.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
See,
I would not have gotten gain out of this.
I would not have gotten pain out of the first one. It looks like an injury. So, like, I just...
Yeah. All right. Call, phone, summer, call me, July 7th. They're getting harder. Receive, because even that, nobody uses those kind of phones anymore either. Why is that even an emoji?
I don't know. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, who has a phone like that?
Date, is the date important, or is there an emoji that says July 17th?
Call me to make a date or something. I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't. I mean, to me, that's just gibberish. Whatever it ends up being, like, it will not probably make sense to me. Call it a day.
Is dumb.
Oh, that's dumb. That's so stupid.
That's not. I don't get a day out of this. Bro. Money for rainy day.
Save money for rainy day. Saving for a rainy day. Yeah, saving money for a rainy day. Yeah, that's what it is. I'm sure.
Eye for an eye, tooth.
Tooth for tooth. Yeah. That would be easier to write that out than it would be to find those emojis on, because I see like the list of emojis on my phone. If I go to that list, it is a massive wall of things. I have to swipe through so many. I would be so much easier to type that out. It just doesn't make it. Yeah. Like, it's not like it's easier. No rockets, no science. I don't know.
It's not rocket science. Chris.
It's not rocket science. Yeah, it's not rocket science. There you go.
Okay, here's the last one. Raining cats and dogs. All right, so see, you can do it.
Yeah, you can, but I have to think so much harder to figure that out. It's like if the only reason you would have to do that is to be it's supposed to be like more brevity. You know,
also,
it's supposed to be like easier.
The kid. This is the generation that grew up on this, and they don't read books, so everything, like, their brains are more primed to like think in these kind of emoji ways. We're moving to like a visual oral culture from a textual one.
I feel like we're moving backwards then. I really do. I do not think that it's anymore. I do not think it's
John and I talked about this before. I think you do. People that don't read, there's something you lose by not processing text with your brain, like decoding text specifically. You can get the same information from watching a video or whatever, but there's still something you lose in the process of reading. But it might just be different. I don't know if one's better than another, because there's some pretty intelligent people that get all of their like data or information from YouTube, from watching videos and listening to audiobooks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that get stuff like that. I mean, my daughter is part of that generation, and she reads still. She knows. She understands. I mean, she. But
I think it's becoming rare. Like kids, I was a nerd growing up, just because I read books. That separated me just
because you read books,
a book with me, or reading a book. Especially for some reason, if you read around other people, if you were in your room reading a book, nobody cared. But if you were in public reading a book, or if you were sitting in the living room with your family and you read a book, for some reason that made you weird, and that was like it had an effect on people. And so even my generation, It was weird to be reading books. I imagine it's even more so now. So like your daughter she's probably the outlier for her generation. It's
like this. That reminds me of this is a Bill Hicks. It was a Bill Hicks stand up from, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be like early 80s or so. I don't know, mid 80s maybe. Like, you know, like it's the whole thing about what are you reading for? Like, he was in some diner somewhere, and the waitress came and said, like, what are you reading for? And like he did a whole thing about that. Like, if you type in what are you reading for into Google, it actually comes up with a video right away.
Maybe there's a YouTube clip. What are you reading for? I don't even get it.
Just type. Well, because like she wasn't asking what he was reading. She was asking why was he reading?
Why are you reading?
Yeah, I'm just saying that's indicative of like like why would you read? Like, books are for nerds. You know, like, it's very strange.
I had a teacher, my science teacher in high school. I had for 2 years. Like at the beginning of class, he would give at the beginning of the year, he would give the rules. And one of his rules was you couldn't read library books in his class. And I thought that was such a weird rule. And I had these like little paperback book, like fantasies or something you'd get from the bookstore. And I was reading one day, and he saw me, and he came to my table, and he got really pissed off. He started yelling at me, "Is that a library book you're reading in my class?" I said, "No, I bought it." And he said, "Are you trying to get smart with me?" I said, "No library books." That's like, but it's not a library book. In his mind, anything that wasn't a textbook was a library book. It didn't matter if it came from a library. And so, in other words, he didn't want us reading books in class at all.
That weren't textbooks. That weren't textbooks.
Yeah, but he called them library books. So I had even a teacher in high school for 2 years that forbid you to read books in class. If you were like through with your work, you had to read something out the textbook. You couldn't just pull a book out and start reading it. I just thought it was so weird.
That is so weird. It's like he specifically had a thing about library books too. It's so weird. It's like, I hate libraries. I hate libraries. The libraries killed my parents. You know. I mean.
Okay, I found the Bill Hicks thing. Let's see what he's reading for.
Get this! Another true story. This is going to frighten you.
Oh, this is a really bad. Maybe there's a better.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
I think there's a better copy of it.
This one looks better, maybe. It's a different. It's a different. I can see it fine.
Let me try again.
Sure.
Oh.
That's it.
Yeah. No, he's not joking.
I mean, and that was back in. I mean, that was like mid '80s when that came out. So I mean, that's you can really tell by the hairstyles in the audience. That's definitely mid '80s. The big hair. Like, every woman had like giant hair, like these like massive dudes. So yeah, I mean, so that's a sentiment that really has. I guess it started then. And I guess that kind of became pervasive and just kind of wafted its way throughout society until like the point where today that we do have an entire generation that's I don't know, that they're afraid to read anything that's on a screen. I guess they don't want to pick up books.
I have to have I can't do it at all. I've started. I can read on my big screen TV. Like if people send me a PDF, I've learned to read on my computer screen. But I cannot do a Kindle or anything like that. I have to have the hard book because there's a geography to a book, and when I read, I remember where in the book the information is. I lose that from a flat screen.
I can do both. I mean, I've learned. I adapted to doing both because there were some books I could only find in digital form for a while, and so I did adapt to that somewhat. But still, I mean, I prefer if I can get my hands on the physical copy of the book. I'd much prefer that. It's just Yeah. Have a good day, John. Later, man.
Oh, hey, John. Yeah, I look forward to talking soon. We need to do our map soon. Yeah, even the digital books. If I'm gonna read it more than once or read it seriously, I'm gonna end up getting the hard copy anyway.
There was yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say a book that I could only get digitally was like this Philip K. Dick book. That it was, the book itself is so expensive. I could only find a decent copy that was digital, because it was like this really weird book called The Exorcist, and so I was really interested in his whole weird spiritual journey he went on. So I read that book, and I read it and on an e-reader at the time. I think I just had a tablet or something like that, and I got used to it. It wasn't so bad. I don't like reading my phone very much, but.
What was his spiritual journey?
Oh, you don't know much about it? I thought we talked about that at one point. Philip K. Dick had this crazy, man. He talks about it, and they talk about Waking Life. Were you watching Waking Life? Remember that part where they talk about where the guy comes up to him at the pinball table and tells him the story about how Philip K. Dick thought it was the world. That was
Bill Hicks. I mean, Philip Dick.
It was about Philip K. Dick. Yeah, it was Philip K. Dick they were talking about. Philip K. Dick had this theory that it was Philip K. Dick had this theory that it was actually still the year 33 AD, and it even had put a spell upon the world. And also, he really did believe that, and he believed that because of this whole thing where he talks about it. His last few books that he wrote were about it too. About he went to the door to answer this thing one day, but he had this premonition that this girl was going to get the door, and she did, and she was wearing those ichthus pendants. He was wearing like the the ichthus, the fish thing, right? And like it glinted in the sunlight or something, and that caught his eye, and he had this vision that he was still the year 33 AD, and he said that he had this whole like he lived like a month in that moment, where he had this whole like thing where he was back in like the times of Christ, and he was one of Christ's disciples and all this stuff, and it's this really interesting story. And he has this man, his stuff goes real deep. It goes hard, man. It goes real hard. I mean, it is it's a difficult read too, because it's very stream of consciousness, and it's basically diary. It's basically his diary stuff. It's not stuff he wrote for publication. It was stuff that was collected after he died and put together. But I mean, but from those, he had part of the premonition was that his son had some sort of some sort of like flaw in his heart or something like that, and like they took him to the doctor and got checked out, and sure enough he did have that issue, and they saved his life like that. So I mean, some of it, there's certainly some. So I resonate really strongly with all this we talked about there. It's actually some of the Gnostic stuff I actually got interested in was from the Philip K. Dick stuff. And
what Gnostic stuff?
I mean, it's just like he starts talking about like, I don't know, it's really hard to go, and there's so much groundwork has to be laid to even make it make sense. That's true. I know. That's true. He talks like there's one part where he talks really in detail about like he had this vision of seeing like what he called the Logos, which was this. He saw it as like this Logos personified as this symbol. It was like this red and gold like flaming thing that was existing in the middle of the biblical times. He saw it like existing kind of like in like this weird kind of like symbolic / literal sense, and like I don't know, it just sent me on a whole like journey through reading about all the stuff about the Rosicrucians, and I went and I read about the Cathars, and I read about all the stuff, and I had a very similar experience that he had after that. I had it before I read about that. It's kind of what got me interested in that, because like I told somebody about the experience I had, and it reminded them of Philip K. Dick's experience, and so I went and read about that, and that got me on this whole thing where I started to understand more of it. And yeah, I mean, like a lot of my.
What was your experience? You talking like a visionary experience?
Yeah, I had like a very visionary type thing. I had like a thing where I had like this like kind of weird flashback, kind of like memory that was of being on a ship a long time ago, and like it was very, very real to me. It felt very real, and I wasn't dreaming. It was like something that happened while I was awake, and I couldn't explain it.
You were just sitting around your house, and it just hit you.
Yeah, well, it was me and my wife and Lindsay. We were talking at the time, and I just had like this like just like it was like my environment was just like not my environment anymore. I was somewhere else, and I felt like I was someone else. I identified. I suddenly realized it wasn't like I wasn't Chris. I was something else, and like it was very strange. It was like this like out of body kind of experience, or in body experience. I don't even know how to explain out of mind experience. I don't know. I mean, I was not on any hallucinogens or any drugs at the time. I was completely sober. So, it could be it could be related to, and Lindsay also experienced something very similar at the same time too. And so, and it really confused us both. Like we didn't know what had just happened, it's something that we were two people to experience this. And it really sent me spiraling down a whole rabbit hole of weird stuff.
Yeah. How long did it last?
I have no idea. I have no idea how long that was. Like the memory, it felt like an extended period of time. I remember kind of like it was like waking up in like this other world though, like because I was like wait, that's not my name. My name is this, and like all this stuff, and after a while it faded. But I don't really have any idea how long it was. But it felt like after that I felt like I had memories from another life after that, like like almost like a reincarnation type thing, but not really quite reincarnation. Not really what they consider reincarnation usually when they talk about it. But that's what got me looking into all that stuff. The reason why that's what when I said like I tried to be an atheist. I tried to be agnostic or atheist or something like that. The things kept happening in my life that just like refused to let me ignore the spiritual world. I couldn't ignore it anymore because like it was just like every time I would try to run away from it or try to like ignore it or shut it out, it would find a way to like slap me in the face and make me to pay attention to it again. So I just finally stopped trying to ignore it. Yeah, I really
consider that the spiritual world, even though it might just be a brain thing.
It could be a brain thing, yeah, it could be, but it doesn't. Like experientiality. I mean, I can't explain it with any kind of like scientific explanation. I can explain it as a especially since Lindsay also experienced it too, and that's like part of the problem with it. I mean, you could consider it a folly. Yeah, exactly. It was like you could consider it a folie à deux, I suppose. Which is a shared delusion. And I researched that as I researched those and like people that have had those experiences before. They're not very common though. It's not something that happens to a lot, and this is very sudden, and it wasn't like prefaced by anything really. It wasn't like it was very out of nowhere. It was very strange. I mean, I've always been a person that was interested in kind of like esoteric type of things, but this wasn't like I said, this wasn't like I wasn't on acid or anything. I wasn't on anything at all. I wasn't even on any prescription medication at the time. I was as sober as you could be, and yeah, I don't know what to say. It was a very strange, just going from talking and like it was just like this, like it's just like suddenly feeling like it was this entirely other thing, and I don't know how to explain it because it would be really easy to write off if I'd been on drugs. It'd be really easy just to write it off and just be like, well, I was on drugs. There's weird things happen when you're on drugs, which is part of the reason I end up doing. The part of the reason that was before that I'd never actually done like I ended up doing the acid later on, trying to like see if I could make that happen again. I was trying to like see if I could induce that sort of thing.
So you hadn't done any psychedelics up to this point?
I had tried to do so. I think we got like quote unquote acid once that just did nothing. It did nothing for anybody. It wasn't just me or Lindsay that did nothing for it. It did nothing for anybody. And this was like 5 years before this experience. And I mean, I had done shrooms in Vegas quite a bit. But shrooms don't really seem to have like the kind of lasting effect. I mean, I've heard people having like acid flashbacks, that like, because I could check it up that, but I never had an acid experience prior to this. So, and other than that, besides psychedelics, and I mean, I don't really consider. I know pot's considered a psychedelic, but it doesn't really I never had any psychedelic type experiences on it, and I don't even know of any others. But I never. This only was ever done. So. And like I said, like I mean, I've tried. Like the way my brain works is that anytime something weird happens, and Lindsay would tell you too, she gets annoyed with me how much I will try to find ways that it wasn't anything weird, that it was actually just like it was just this. I will debunk anything. I'll debunk myself hardcore, and I could not debunk this no matter how hard I tried. So,
how did you rule out a phenomenon of the brain? Which it could be.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it could be, but all I can say is I can't find anybody having experience like that where like I can't explain it exactly as a phenomenon of the brain either, except for like it's the fact that for both of us to experience it, it's just like it was just.
But you
I don't
know really what she was experiencing other than what she told you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, she could be lying. I don't know why she would have, but
not lying, but like she could be. You don't know that it was the exact experience because she doesn't know what you were experiencing. So she can't say, oh, I just experienced that same thing you did.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like we both suddenly had this awareness that we weren't where we had been. And it's a very difficult thing to describe. I mean, it's way stranger and way more complicated than any psychedelic, hallucinogenic experience I've had. Which I mean, as I said before, I haven't really hallucinated truly on anything. So, like I said, like part of the reason I wanted to do the acid and everything after that was because I was trying to see if I could induce it. I try to debunk those kind of things in my head as best I can. And after a certain point though, you kind of get to the point where it's just like I just can't chalk it up to just being like a weird brain malfunction. I mean, it's probably the best way to do it. It's probably the most sensible thing, but it didn't feel that way.
Experience. So it took place in your imagination, which is
possibly
in the brain.
Yeah, possibly. It didn't feel like it to me because I've had a lot of imaginative experiences in my life, and I mean, as a writer, as someone who imagined for a while, I was trying to imagine things for a living, and I'm very detail oriented, very complicated in like the way and the things I write, and it just wasn't like that. This was experiential in a way that I couldn't. For myself, and I'm not trying to convince anybody else. I'm not trying to convince you that it was real.
I'm just trying to debunk it to make sure you went through.
Yeah, I mean, like, I believe me, I've gone over it. Believe me, if it was something that I was going to be able to be able to talk my way or think my way out of, I would have done it by now because I it makes me uncomfortable, to be honest. I don't. It's not something I'm like really like. I don't really love the experience being there in my brain because it's really hard to logic your way out of it though. But whenever like I just can't. There's more things than that. If I need to go through and just like write it all down so I can like get it organize my thoughts. My thoughts are really disorganized and scattered these days, and I can't express it the way I should be able to because I can't organize it all. My brain I start thinking back to the stuff, and I just feel so scattered and so crazy. I feel crazy saying it. So I need to like write it down so I can like have a more organized like when I sent you that story once about like the the run-ins with like the cult we ran into in Vegas and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a really good way for me to tell that sort of thing because I could really have the ability to when I'm typing I can organize it all and I can like make sure like I've got all the points there. When I'm talking like like on the fly like this I get really I end up like, these days anyway. I used to be really good at like telling things like that in the moment, but I just can't do it very well anymore. I don't know. I get so rambly and I start feeling like hot and like anxious. I feel like I'm not explaining it properly, but I don't know how I explain it better. And but yeah, I mean it was a formative experience. I'll say that it was one of those things that like once that happened, it kind of changed my life from that point forward. I couldn't really justify just looking at things in purely logical ways like all the time. There's so like, and I'm still the kind of person like I'll still. And this was after the stuff happened, like cult and stuff like that. This was after all that stuff. This is like way after, and like I'm still a very logic kind of like. But I've had too many things happen in my life where I just like no matter I run up to the edges or the limits of what logic will allow me to explain, and it makes me uncomfortable every time it happens. But it's happened to me in my life a lot, and maybe I am just, and it could be that maybe heck I've considered it more than once, especially during the time period my wife is going through what she went through. I considered on a daily basis that I was the one that was crazy. I thought it's the only thing that made sense because like there was this other girl and her both having like their episodes, and then I must be the one that's crazy because it made no sense logically speaking. If like there's one person that thinks the other two people are crazy and like they both think they're sane and they're not even acting like you're crazy, and so like it seems like I've got to be the one that's hallucinating, right? That was the logic. I mean, I considered I was dead some days. I consider like I seriously consider the fact that did I die? Am I a ghost? I mean, I started considering things like that because like I felt because like there was days like that no one would even interact with me. No one would like I would see people but they wouldn't like say anything to me and it was just because of what was happening around me. And so I mean,
You're talking about like your wife and the girl wouldn't talk to you? Or
they weren't speaking to me, and no one else really was either. I was still working for Amazon, then I'd have days where like I'd have no phone calls come through, so I would have no phone calls come through, and I would see these other two people, but they didn't speak to me or interact with me at all, and I was like, am I invisible? Am I a ghost? Like what? It just because it seemed like it made more sense for it be in my head than for it to be something wrong with two other people. I mean, I mean, just saying like that's how my brain works whenever I'm encountering things like that. I don't automatically think that I'm the sane one. I'm I've considered the fact that I might have like signs of schizophrenia, like something like that, whenever I was for many years, but I've been tested and everything for that. Like
I don't detect anything at all.
Yeah,
like you
I mean, I don't
other than the neurodivergence.
Yeah, the ADHD stuff and everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's normal for you.
It's normal for me, yeah. But I mean, I've had a lot of things that I think that just saying like the experience that I've had that sound crazy, but at the same time, I'm also very conscious of that. I don't automatically. I definitely put my experiences through the ringer of thing. It just sometimes, and a lot of times I had those experience. All of the experience I've had, a lot of times my ultimately, my diagnosis of them is that that was just like some bullshit. It's just some crazy stuff that happened, or just I wasn't thinking clearly or something. But but every now and then I can't fully I can't fully explain it, and I end up running up the limits of logic, as I said, and like I end up just being like, well, sometimes really weird fucking shit happens. It's just like it just happens, and you live with it, or you accept it. You accept it for what it is, and accept that sometimes the world doesn't make logical sense, and you move on. I mean, most of the time the world makes logical sense. Most of the time, most things can be explained logically, but not all the time. Sometimes maybe what happened, maybe my experience like that was similar to Philip K. Dick's. Maybe it was a brain malfunction that happened to two people at the same time. Maybe there was an electromagnetic wave that ran through the thing that's in our brain, or maybe we actually traveled through time. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like we had like a reincarnation type of we had like a flashback to a reincarnated that we were reincarnated from. But like, why would we both have been in that same, it was like we got transported into somebody else's body or brain for a minute, and that
So
doesn't
she
make
said,
sense.
like, you had the. How did she know you were having the experience? You said something to her, or she said something to you first?
I don't remember now. I don't remember which one it was. I mean, at one time I probably knew, but it's been so. I mean, that's been.
So like you
years.
would have said, "Oh, I just had this weird experience," and she would have said, "Oh, me too. I had the same thing."
It was like suddenly I was like. It's like we were talking, and suddenly I felt like I was on a boat, and it was rocking. Okay, the boat was like, I could kind of hear waves. It was like it kind of faded into it, and I said, and I was.
And whatever you were describing, she recognized and said, "Oh, I had that."
Well, I saw the look on her face in first. Like whenever I felt it, I saw the look on her face, and she was also like, she had this this awareness of like something weird. And it's like, are you suddenly feeling something strange? And like it was like this thing where like back and forth. Like I said a little bit, and then she said a little bit back, and like we were both kind of confirming that we had the same experience. So I can't explain it. I mean, I'm not saying that's the reason why I researched it so thoroughly. I was trying to find some explanation for it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it was real or if it was like a brain malfunction. I'm not saying it wasn't that. I just don't know what it was. And I know we both experienced it. And so like, it's just one of the things like, well, I don't know. We both felt we were on this boat.
It's the fact that you think she experienced it too that has you caught up on it's more than just your brain. Because there was another person.
I also can't find any other I can't find like a common. I can't find it as a common experience that people going through certain kinds of psychosis or something like that.
You're accepting the fact that she had the identical experience, and that's what I'm skeptical of is how.
Well, I mean,
how you can be certain that the experience she's talking about was identical to yours. I
mean, I can't. I trust her. So I mean, I guess I do love her.
Not that she's being deceptive or anything, but there's no way to know for certain what her conscious experience was.
That's true. There's definitely no way.
Like she might have experienced something very similar too, but I think there's a big assumption in the fact that you both had the identical experience. That's one thing that's
they weren't identical because it's from two different perspectives, but it was like we both were like in like these other
like if it was an earthquake and you both like the room was shaking and you're like, oh, did you just feel that? And she's like, yeah, and something external, but this is like an internal something in your brain. So it's harder to compare notes and know if like she might have been having an experience, but when you were describing yours, it's hard to know if that was the identical experience she was having because she's only going off of what you're telling. So she might have like I can't draw the lines as neatly as you can in the fact that you both had this identical experience. You seem very convinced that you did, but you're only going off of her self-report and she's only going off of your self-report. So you can't really take the experiences and put them side by side and see if they're actually identical. So there's some like trust, faith, and
I'll say that there's a lot more to it. I'm not going to go into it on here because it's public and it was a rather personal, like there's a lot of there's personal details to it. So I will write it out and I'll send it to you though, just so you get an idea. But there's more reasons to for me believing.
So I don't have all the information then myself.
No, you don't have all the information. No, it'd be kind of impossible for me to go into it all without kind of like sitting down and writing it out, because like I said, my thoughts are too scattered at the moment for me to say it coherently. But yeah, Patty said like something happened to both of us. That's all the best I can say. Something happened to both of us. It was it was like late evening. It was dark out. We had an experience. I don't know what to tell you, but we weren't that we were sober, and we were. I mean sober in terms of like not just illicit drugs, but like even prescription drugs. Neither one of us were on anything at the time, and we weren't drinking either. There was no alcohol involved, and yeah. So I mean, it's something that sticks with me every day. So hey there, baby.
Wow. And how long ago was this?
15 years probably ago. I've made at least 10. If not more, if it was at least 10, if not more. Let me see here. Sorry.
Hey,
just came upstairs.
It's our third co-host.
Yeah. Oh, she's naked right now. I don't know if we can show that on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know. I might be she might be my first strike.
I don't think that counts for a little baby. She's not even a year old.
Growing up, didn't they have commercials like Gerber baby?
Oh yeah.
All around?
Yeah. And Ged's calendars are nothing but baby porn. I mean, they don't even have diapers on. She's got a diaper on.
Yeah. Especially with all this drama going on, people are going to find anything they can use.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. They're not gonna strike your channel for this. I don't think so. She just wants to smile. You want to go back there? Oh, her toy here. I'm gonna sit her back here and she can play with her toys. Oh.
Well, do you want to tell the cult story? Are you able to tell that one?
I could tell it. I mean, it is it's so elaborate and long. I mean, it's just, yeah. I mean, we ran afoul of some sort of cult in Las Vegas. So I guess I would say like the experience I was just talking about a minute ago, that was more like 10 years ago, because that was about 10 years because it was about 5 or 6 years after the cult thing that happened after Clover was born. So that had to be 15 years for that. So that's so 15 years ago we were in Vegas. What was that? 2007. Yeah, 2007 or so. Oh, that's all. You need to put that in the fridge, like anyway. So anyway, we knew this girl. I'm not going to get into names on here because I don't know. I mean, I just don't want anything
they're not important. No one's going to know her.
Yeah. But we knew this girl that we had known. I think Lindsay met her in an AOL chat room.
Oh, what chat room was it? Just out of curiosity, because I used to hang out.
Literally, it was Las Vegas Pagans, right, Lindsay? It was Las Vegas Pagans. Because Lindsay was like kind of interested in that kind of stuff back when we first met too, and she had kind of like dabbled in being a Wiccan or something like that at some point when she was in college, and never really got all the way into it. But she was like, she made some friends like that, and she met this girl in like the Las Vegas Pagans group on AOL chat, and it might not even been Las Vegas, but it might have just been. I'm sure it was Las Vegas, wasn't it? Yeah. And we met this girl, and like we knew her on and off for years. For the next, I don't know, 2 years, I guess. We knew her on and off. She was like, she constantly would have, it was very strange because she would say that she wanted to meet up with us. She wanted to go, meet up at like a bar or something like that. And we'd go to the bar and we'd hang out there, and then we'd never see her. She'd never show up. And so we thought she stood us up several times. It's a very strange person in that sense. But we finally did meet up with her. Finally did meet her in person at her apartment. And we found out why she had been so like that was because she had lupus, and she was very self-conscious about the way she looked and the way she, she was lupus. Makes you very brittle and frail and stuff like that. And she just she would get sick or something, and like when she was trying to go out, and she'd get embarrassed and didn't want to like say anything. So, but we got to know her pretty well for the last few years. But like by the time Clover was born, we hadn't really heard from her much in a while. She hadn't been someone like was really immediate in our lives. The Clover was born after a period where I had been let go from my job, and Lindsay had also been let go from her job. I had just gotten another job working at a movie theater, and it was like the first job I've been in like a couple of months, and so we were struggling pretty hard, and we didn't know that Lindsay was pregnant. We did know at first, but we were told specifically that Lindsay had miscarried. So we did not know that Lindsay was pregnant when we went to the hospital. She was having stomach pains, And so we went to the hospital and found that she was still very much pregnant, and that then her blood pressure was at stroke levels, and that yeah, we didn't know that we knew that we supposedly the doctor said she'd miscarried, and like then there hadn't, but nothing had happened yet in terms of like there had been no, so we thought she was going to get a DNC, but like they didn't, like we didn't have like a lot of, we didn't have money or insurance or anything, so we were we weren't going to the hospital unless we had to. And but she started having stomach pains, and like we went there and found out that the baby was very much alive and she was fine, and that she was going to have to be born very soon because Lindsay's blood pressure was so high. So we had this baby. Like we went from thinking that we had lost a baby for like about 3 months at that point. We had thought we had lost the baby. She didn't make any, she didn't move, Lindsay didn't feel movement or anything. She didn't, like with this one, with Juniper, like Juniper was just like every day, just like you should just feel her in there. But with Clover was like up underneath Lindsay's ribs somehow, and she just didn't make it. She was just like really still, like quiet baby in there. And so they did a C-section on that, and and Lindsay was in the ICU for several days afterwards after that. And we didn't really have any, but most of the friends we'd had in the course of our time in Vegas, like had just kind of fallen off. We kind of disappeared from us. We didn't really, a lot of the numbers I had for people didn't even work. And one of the only people I was able to get a hold of was Laura. Sorry, I said her name, but anyway, there was Laura.
That's the Vegas girl.
Yeah. And I called her, and of all the people that I called, left messages with to let them know that we had a baby and that we were in the hospital. Her and her mother and her sister and her 2 little girls, she had 2 twins, they were the only people that showed up in the hospital. Our own families all lived in Colorado and Texas, so they weren't like immediate. They weren't there where they could just like show up at the hospital. And so Laura was there for us when we really needed somebody. She helped us get a car seat. She helped us and all the stuff like that. Months go by. I mean, for that matter, I mean, like we became very, very close with her over that time period. She was like family to us. Absolutely. I would definitely consider her family. And yeah, she still is. I mean, they still talk and stuff like that. I haven't heard from her in a while myself, but Lindsay still talks to her all the time. And we went over with one day. There was this whole like kind of drama that had unfolded with, like, she was in like this coven type thing or something, like, as we understood it was like a coven, like a Wiccan type coven, we thought. And there was some drama with them, like they wanted her to do something called a 10-year rite, and for whatever reason, I can't remember why, but it's something that she didn't want to do it, and they were being really insistent about it. We were trying to support her as best we could through this period. And finally, she apparently had she told us the story about how she had this confrontation with one of them, and like they had like this weird, bizarre, like ritual type thing where they do. It sounded like a joke to me. The whole thing sounded like it was like fake. I thought she was lying about stuff for a long time because I couldn't figure out why, because there wasn't like she was asking us for anything. So there was like no con to run, but it seemed like she was making stuff up. It just sounded ridiculous. It sounded like that they would have these things where she said she called a soul stealing contest, and like where they basically both parties would basically wager the rights of their soul and stand each in a circle and stand there and then psychically attack each other until one of them relented. It sounds like ridiculousness, right?
Yes,
but apparently it sounds ridiculous, right? And she said, but she had one of these with 2 of these council members. Like there's like a high priestess in Vegas, and she has a council of however many other women. There, it's all matriarchal type of thing. And she had like 2 of these, and like she basically like defeated 2 of these council members in the soul stealing contest, and eventually developed where the high priestess herself challenged her, and she also defeated this high priestess. And I was like, okay, this sounds ridiculous, but nonetheless, which in this organization, supposedly how it worked was that the high priest, like defeating the high priest, basically if you could defeat the high priestess, then you became the high priestess. I was like, okay, so it's like feudal rules or something, It's like it's very medieval sounding. And any case, I mean, but there's a lot of lore to it. It was very detailed. There's something I'm doing the Cliff Notes version of it. I'm giving the Cliff Notes because like it's just like it would take hours. So I mean, all this was happening, and like the whole time I'm very skeptical of all of it because obviously for obvious reasons it sounds like a bunch of cartoonish bullshit. Sounds like a bunch of kids playing pretend, and these were supposedly adult people, but nonetheless, we went over to her house quite often. We went to her apartment, not our house, but we went to her apartment quite often, and hung out there with because she had 2 little girls, and we had the baby, and Lindsay would go over there when I was working too, and more than once when I was over there, like people came to the door. And they weren't just like coming to the door; they came to the door with like, and they were asking Laura these questions about. I mean, we heard them talk about.
They came to your door.
No, they came to her door. Her door.
Well, you were at her.
Okay. Yeah, but we saw the people, and like we saw them, like they brought this giant book that was like this huge, like it's like a wedding planning book. It was like wedding planning book that was all like options they had to do the coronation. They were planning on they had a coronation date set up at like this giant convention center, like hall type thing and everything. Like someone was paying for things. Like there was money behind it. It was very, very strange. I mean, time went on. Like she kind of adopted us as like her kind of support team, and and Lindsay was like her right hand woman kind of thing in this, and that made them very upset because that we weren't part of the. Well, I mean, she didn't really mention me much in it because I was just like the husband. They didn't really look at men as being. They was entirely matriarchal. Men were considered were only useful for sperm, basically. We were just useful for breeding. But like Lindsay was like going to be like her right hand woman, and they didn't like that because she wasn't like she wasn't part of like the cult and all this stuff like this, and I mean I spoke to at least 3 of these people on the phone myself, and Lindsay spoke to them many times too. There were real people. There were many different ones. I don't know. I mean, it was to the degree of elaborateness that for someone to be making it all up, it was just like it's like to believe it was all being made up stretched credulity more than believing it was real. It was too crazy to like just believe, but at the same time, like I kept seeing all this evidence that there was something going on. And eventually through a long series of like various like shenanigans, like the whole thing blows up. There's like a big controversy, like there's a big falling out and like amongst the higher ranks of this organization, which apparently Las Vegas was just one chapter. They have chapters in like every major city supposedly. They did everything through phone trees. All information was passed on phone trees. The higher up you were, the further in advance you knew about an event, and the further down you were, the more last minute everything would be, which kind of makes sense. I mean, in a sense of like if you're trying to keep something like kind of in an inner circle type thing, like doing it like that does kind of make to a certain degree make sense. But I mean, after this happened though. I couldn't get a job to save my life. I lost the job I had at the movie theater, which I mean, we were told that I was never able to get a job really in Vegas again after this. We had people like outside our door. Oh, hey. Oh, yeah, this is Ray Aline. Oh, hello. I'm sorry, I didn't notice somebody else coming. Yeah, so I mean, it was a really bizarre thing, and I mean, I know I'm forgetting things because I like I said, I get so scattered with stuff, but I could look up that when I typed out for you before.
Well, you don't have to tell every detail, but what's the main gist of the?
The main reason I told it before is just like that. Regardless of how much I tend to like fall on the side of like skepticism and logic on things, there are groups, there are people out there that are doing crazy conspiracy culty things out there. They really do. There really are cults out there that have some power, that have some actual. I mean, I don't mean power like spiritual power. I mean that they have some actual like money and money power behind things, and like these people exist. I mean, like there are conspiracy sounding.
They also have the Renaissance Fair and the SACA.
I don't think. I mean, I can't say for certain. Like there's always a plausible deniability, but like I had a pretty decent resume at the time, and like I couldn't get a job to save my life after that. And that was even before the financial crash happened. And then once that happened, it was even worse. But I mean, this all happened like I said, 2007. through, and then 2008, like mid 2008 when the financial crash happened and things got really bad there. But like this happened over the course of like 2 months, and like it was insane. I mean, there was like
how did it end? What eventually ended up happening?
The presence, Lindsay's presence in the thing, like kept causing like problems, and Laura herself, because she hadn't taken the 10-year right, supposedly the 10-year right that they wanted her to take, she hadn't done that, and so they were. So technically, she wasn't eligible to become like the high priestess. That was what they end up saying. But like there was a split that took place amongst the higher ups in this organization between people that said that they thought she earned it, she earned her place, and other people that thought that she didn't, she wasn't eligible, and they ultimately they had people come in from a higher rung in their order or whatever, and they voted that they decided that she wasn't eligible, and like they basically banned her from the entire thing. They basically kicked her out, put her into exile or whatever. We got emails from these people. Lindsay did. I was ignored, but that's fine with me. I didn't want to be recognized by it. But I still like they. Like I said, there were definitely more than once. I went downstairs like where we live, and there was people just like. Because I could see their shadows. And I know exactly what those shadows were that they could be, because I tested it myself to see like if someone was standing right here, would it make a shadow here? And like there's people like just standing outside, just like, and like they weren't knocking on the door. No one knocked on the door. I just like I could see like their shadows there, like just standing outside our doors many nights, and like it was scary. I mean there was people, real people, like outside my door, just standing outside my door. I don't know why. And I don't know how else it would have been. Like, and like, I sat on the stairs and just watched for a long time. And like, I finally decided to go back upstairs and just like, just hope they went away, because they weren't coming. They weren't trying to come in the house or anything. They were just like waiting outside my door. They weren't there in the morning, but I mean, I don't know what the hell was going on with it. I don't know what the hell any of it was. I'm sure that there might be a perfectly reasonable explanation for it that's not weird and crazy. I just don't know what it is. And I tried like hell to find it. Like eventually I found this this insane there's this like okay, and this is where it starts to sound really, really schizoid and like conspiracy with Alex Jonesy. But like I mean I found this interview with this woman named Savali, is what she went by. She was a pen name on the internet. She has this interview with her that from some weird ass like radio show from a long time ago, and she described herself as being an ex-member of what she said what people would call the Illuminati. But it's not. They didn't call themselves the Illuminati. They didn't call themselves. They always gave themselves generic names. They never used that title. And she said that she described word for word in some cases everything that Laura had described in terms of like these rituals and stuff they did. Now, could Laura have found that thing and like based a whole fiction around it, and then also had people like friends of hers like play parts and stuff like that? I guess it's possible. I just have no reason, because it wasn't like she ever got money out of us. She never asked us for anything. She never got anything out of us at all. She never asked us for anything. So there was no con to be played. It would have just been for fun, I guess. I don't know. Like just to confuse two of her friends that. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I just can't think of a single good reason. Like anytime that there's like a conspiracy type thing, I think it's always a pretty solid thing to like, if you're really looking for an answer to something that doesn't make sense, you always look for what motive there could be. What could be the motive? What could be there to gain? And it's usually money or something like that. And I can't think of a single reason that she would have like been lying about any of it at that point, because like it never. But I mean, it certainly. I mean, if it hadn't been for the other people involved, if it hadn't been for the other people that I saw and the people I heard and talked to, even, I would think that it was just something she was just making up and just telling us a story. But how do you recruit people? How do you recruit people to come to your door, to show up at certain times, to do all this stuff? I mean, that's just like, I mean, she didn't have money. She was on welfare as it was. It's not like she had money to like. It's not like she was wealthy or something. I mean.
Well, I mean, no, they could have been just ordinary pagans being weird. Yeah.
I mean, they could have been. I mean, it could have been just ordinary people like had their. But I mean, like it certainly confused the hell out of me to this day. It still haunts me somewhat, because it's one of those things where you're just like, but why? Like why? I mean, because like it seemed like it was like kind of aimed at us or something. Like there was like, because we were obviously involved in it, but like I said, there was nothing to gain our involvement. So yeah, I mean, they could just been like doing like their weird cosplaying thing, but like I'd have to go into more details that I don't think I should go into. I mean, just like we're talking about, I have to talk about some stuff that would really get you in danger of getting a strike on your. there's some much more gruesome, much more disturbing things that went down that I just can't go into on here. I don't feel comfortable like just saying that stuff just like out loud on stream, like without giving you a fair warning first.
Okay.
At least
I guess I trust your judgment. I mean, it makes me curious about what it is, but
no, I will. I'll tell you. I'll just tell you off stream.
My channel. Okay.
I'll tell you off stream. That's all. I just mean getting into like some. I don't know, some things are a little bit more controversial. I guess
this is the extreme stream, but
it's the extreme stream. That's true.
I still trust your judgment.
Yeah, no, I just don't. I don't think it would be a good idea to go into all of it. It's I'll be a lot more. It'll make a lot more sense, but I can type it out anyway. I'm trying to like say it in a story like this. I'm trying to like I'm trying not to like take too long in anything and all the stuff like that. And I feel like I end up skipping things and like then I have to go back and be like, oh, and then there's this and I get to I mean, this took place over like 2 to 3 months of my life. I mean that and during that time period, I was working some doing at a movie theater, but it was only like I was like working like 30 hours a week, and like the rest of my life was taken up by taking care of our newborn daughter and dealing with that. And that's what I dealt with all the time, was dealing with that specific thing, and it was insane. I mean, it was like the most surreal experience I'd ever experienced in my life at that point, until like later on, whenever all these other much crazier feeling things happen. Like I feel like the feeling I was on a boat thing seems a lot more crazy to me than that stuff does, because other people can just do crazy stuff. They can just be insane. They could be running around like cosplaying, like you said. Like could be. I just like it. Just like what.
So
what
the only real thing is that there were other people that showed up at your house.
Well, yeah, that, and like the other people that showed up at her house and stuff, and like the money. Like I even checked into it because like they had this. They temporarily had
there wasn't anything supernatural. That was just people.
No, it wasn't supernatural per se. No, this was, to me, this is much scarier than supernatural in some ways. It's like the fact that there's real people, because there was real money behind it too. That was the other thing. There was money being put into this. Somebody was putting a lot of money into it. And I guess rich people can do crazy shit too. I just typically don't expect people like they're just kind of running around doing some weird cosplaying like pagan group
like
thing.
I just don't think cult or something.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, and so this was extremely matriarchal. It was extremely matriarchal side, but it used a lot of terminology, like so the Savali lady used about her stuff about the Illuminati. They used like the chairs and like the way they did everything through phone trees and everything. She described all this stuff, and I was just like, when I read that was like my moment where I was like, holy crap! Like
that just sounds like any normal occult group to me. I've been a part of a few of them. Yeah, none of that. Like I don't see Illuminati in it. Just
well, I mean, like they don't call. She even said themselves. Like I mentioned the term Illuminati to her. Like, have you ever heard that term before? She's like, I heard that term before, but no, they're not the Illuminati. They would say she would say like blatantly, they thought it wasn't the Illuminati. Like that was like the Savali lady was like saying that that's what she believes that people are referring to when they're talking about the Illuminati. They're talking about like this, this kind of like weird, like, esoteric, like organization that kind of tries to control everything around the world. She said that it's what she sees described when people talk the Illuminati is what she was part of, but they would never call themselves that. And like, they actually would laugh at that term. If anyone ever used it, it would be only done in jest. Like no one actually called themselves the Illuminati. And I believe that. I mean, that makes sense to me, like if
is just a normal occult sect trying to maintain some kind of secrecy.
I guess so, but like it's a really creepy one. Like when like there's some of the other stuff. I mean, there was some dark stuff. There was some pretty dark stuff. I mean, there was some pretty dark stuff in there. Like men were cattle to them. They did not think anything of, if you were a man, they did not think anything of you. You were not in their particular sect. They did not respect men as being anything more than vessels for semen, pretty much. So yeah, that was that part was a little weird too, but
well, not anymore, not now.
Right.
They were ahead of their time.
Yeah, they really were. They were. As far as I know, it created quite a bit. Like the whole thing with her, according to what we understood, was that her whole like taking down this high priestess and all this stuff was had actually created quite a schism in their group, and it created quite a lot of chaos. They kind of some parts of them kind of fell apart after that, and I guess they're still around for all I know. But I mean, I don't know much about it. There was apparently
it sounds like that's just what groups do. It's not like this, like the internet drama that's happening right now. That's what it reminds me of. Groups find little things to split a fragment over.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, it's I need to like write it all out in more detail. So even though that's just for my own sanity, so I can organize my thoughts better around it, because I don't think about it much anymore. That's something I think about every day, like I used to. Like, but if back even 10 years ago, like I would have been a lot more. I'd be able to tell the story a lot more clearly, or even 5 years ago, probably. But like it is like everything that's happened to me in the last like 2 or 3 years kind of scattered my memories a little bit more. I don't think about it much these days, so it's kind of hard for me to remember it all. But I mean, if I sit down and really think, I can get it all. I can get it all down. Like I can write out like some of the more extreme parts of it, stuff like that. There was there was accusations of magic being used. in sorcery, you might say, being used against people, and all sorts of things like that. That's just like, it sounds so cartoonish, but there was consequences to it, though. Yeah, some people died, so I don't know.
People died?
Yeah, people died.
You did leave that part out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I even found obituaries. I even got obituaries in the paper for them. So like they people really did. I know they could have like known about, they could have found the obituaries, but I knew about them before they were in the paper. So I don't know, man. It just it fucks with my head. I probably couldn't find them anymore. I don't remember their names now, but I knew it at one point. But yeah, but back then, I mean, it was it was something else.
Well, this might be a good place to end it then, because I have to go off to my men's group in 10 minutes anyway.
Say hi.
So I guess
hi, Jeff.
Hey, bye. Hi, Juniper. Bye. Look.
She's all excited.
What's that bracelet that she has?
Oh, it's just a little thing that Lindsay found like somewhere. It's like one of those like little those little orange, like those little orange friendship bracelets. Like we were in a store. We were coming out of the mall somewhere, and there was like somebody just dropped one, and we tried to like tell them, like, say, hey, you dropped this. They just like ignored us and walked off. So Lindsay put it on her wrist, and she just had it on her wrist. It doesn't mean anything. It's just she just likes it. I don't know. She liked it when we put it on her. So anyway, so yeah, well that's cool, man. I will.
I probably won't be streaming tomorrow because I work all day and then have something in the evening. If I do it all, it's going to be a late night stream. But I'll definitely be back on Wednesday.
Sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, we're doing the movie on Wednesday. So, well, thank you, Adaptable. Cool. Oh, I appreciate that. I actually used to listen to a lot of Bus Driver. So, that's a very high compliment. I really appreciate that. I really did.
I did out with some SoundCloud. What's a good one?
Let's see here. Put No Native Tongue. That's a good one.
Okay.
It should be right. Should be right above the last one you played.
Yep.
All right, guys. Good night. Or goodbye.
Good night. I'll see you.
You're doing the men's group thing next. What you're doing?
Yeah, you can come to that if you want.
I need to go feed the kiddo and the mama, so I'll probably not be able to. But if it's still going, how long does it go?
I'll never know. It depends on who shows up. If you decide you want to go, just email me and I'll send you the link.
Okay. All right, man. Yeah, I'll message you on Discord. All right. Later. Bye bye.
Oh, thank you, Adaptable.
Thank you, Adaptable. Yeah.
Yeah.
God bless you
too. Good to see you. I try to stream every day, but I won't be doing it tomorrow. All right, here is No Native Tongue from our very own Chris.
All right. Bye, well. Good night.
Oh.
Iron twisted, looked around, fisted mouth, red teeth, no one here, just ancient me, no sound, just electricity, but theories start to gather as I head into a future state convergence, red lettered so that there's no mistake, at the ready to rain down, kingdom come on any that raise an eye, faculty I cast on direction because I didn't recognize that here there is no maiden or mother, just crone. Here there are no other options, just stone. I stand to the side as a dull wind disturbs a tree, while a ceremonial hum is carried through the air in threes. I speak a sacramental thought as we enter the enclave. As it rolls off my tongue, I hear the stone scrape. Ancient takes its place on a makeshift war table. In a white circle drawn, his face from the neighbor. Just messengers know how to negotiate, settling a debt older than the dust from which we are made. Songs sung in the verse, no native.
That's from Genesis.
Just will. Apocalyptic incidents without mercy. Just kill. We speak no audible word, but what is ours to speak? We clothe ourselves in light, holy, unconstructed, free. There is no breath, no flesh, just bone. There is nothing to discuss, just stone. We raise our banner up and make our undisputed claim. We sing a song of battles won by uncorrupted name. There is no native tongue, just will. There is no negotiable.
I need to try to write a rap.
Just kill.
They have satanic rap out there.
Machine breeze. The ensuing power vacuum collection echoes like a cathedral ceiling. Listen and you can hear us.
I don't have any hustle, so I don't know how mad of game I am.
Down white, golden and balmy, settled in meek, sense is calming. I raise my head, speak a seal of silence, a warn against attempted violence. Angel tread in attains my senses still. Take no prisoner when the gauntlet's laid. Just kill. Burning topiary transmissions assert and executed on higher. Messages inspire, tumbling down the spire, ritualistically deciphered, untouched by graver fire. A calling in the blood like thunder, breathed by flood and wire. The state, the
sounds like white boy rap.
Indicating what should be predictable in these
I guess it
savagery
is white boy
circles,
rap.
unchanging. No flesh, just bone. No option, just stone. No hunger, just fill. No prisoners, just kill. We speak no audible word, but what is ours to speak? We clothe ourselves in light, holy, unconstructed, free. There is no breath, no flesh, just bone. There is nothing to discuss, just stone. We raise our banner up and make our undisputed claim. We sing a song of battles won by uncorrupted name. There is no native tongue, just will. There is no negotiable sum, just kill.
I hope I don't get a strike for this.
Just kill.
Just a song, y'all.
Just kill.
Don't listen. Don't get inspired. Do anything crazy. It's just white boy rap.
Just kill. Just kill.
Okay, I'm gonna have to just kill the stream because I have to run off to my men's group. If you want to attend, just email me and I'll send you the link. Ooh, Lord. Hang on. Okay, I'll see you probably on Wednesday, unless I do a late night tomorrow. Take care. Talk to y'all later. Thank you.